Welcome to Defining Dad Bod, where we work to untangle the messy knots of the health and fitness industry as if your children's lives depended on it. Because they do. This is where we decide to make our bodies stand for something bigger than ourselves. This is where we find practical wisdom to live by, one powerful conversation at a time. May the words spoken here inspire you to keep moving forward no matter where you are. Who knows who you could be if you could become 1% better every single day.
We can do the show thanks to the support of listeners just like you. For more information how you can become part of the inner circle, go to findingdadbod.com/inner circle.
What's up, guys? This is Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod. I hope you're doing super well. Today's show is an amazing conversation with Dr. Tro from the Low Carb MD Podcast. There's so many nuggets in this conversation, I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am that you're about to hear it. But to set the stage a little bit for you, Dr. Tro is a board-certified medical doctor who, for the first part of his career, worked for several years to help obese and diabetic patients manage their disease. However, he himself was 100 pounds or more overweight, and a transformation in himself changed the way that he approached patient care. And he and his colleagues started the Low Carb MD Podcast not that long ago. We got to talk about our mutual dissatisfaction with the calories in, calories out method of overall weight loss for those struggling with obesity and diabetes. And we even discussed characters like Layne Norton, whom I've had on the show, to point out some of the financial pressures that the fitness industry might be under in order to push methodologies that seem scientific, but in clinical practice don't work out very well. It's a great episode. There are a lot of nuggets. You might want to listen more than once. I have two things to cover with you before we get there. One, if you haven't been there in a while, the Defining Dad Bod online store just got an upgrade. We've added 12 weeks of printable, dietitian-written meal plans for purchase on our store. My wife, Kristen Van Houten, is a registered and licensed dietitian in the state of Arkansas. And as my partner in crime and mother of my wonderful children, she helped me create a meal planning tool that we've compiled and made available to anybody who wants it at definingdadbod.com/shop. Once you purchase it, you'll get a secure link to download the tool. And then when it's time to plan meals for your family next week, you can print out a week that looks good to you, circle the breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks that you or your loved ones are interested in this week, and then use the accompanied grocery list and recipes to execute those plans well. Oftentimes, followers on social media, listeners of the show, or even clients of mine ask, Alex, what do you have for breakfast every day? Or what do you guys eat for dinner in your house? And this meal planning tool is the best direct answer to that. Pick it up for yourself at definingdadbod.com/shop. And that brings me to item number 2 on our list. While you're in our online store, you'll notice that our Jumpstart package for personalized exercise and nutrition coaching is 50% off right now. That package comes with a 45-minute live consultation, the meal planning tool I just told you about, 1 week of exercise programming in our TrueCoach application, and daily nutrition coaching with your food journal for that entire week. That's $250 of products and services worth that would usually only cost you $99. But right now, my team and I are offering that at 50% off. Maybe you've heard my last couple shows about how exercise, nutrition, and lifestyle are going to be a huge part of strengthening yourself, your family, and community against things like a coronavirus infection. Then our Jumpstart can be a really helpful way of getting you started on the right path. Or maybe you've been a little lax about your exercise and nutrition while the entire world seemed to crumble down around you in the past few weeks. Hey, I get it. Fair enough. Connect with this Jumpstart as a reset to get you going on the right track. Or maybe even before all this stuff started, you were thinking about getting connected with a coach to support you for your long-term goals, but you still weren't sure what that looked like. Now is a great time to get connected to our Jumpstart Week to see if this coaching is right for you and to give things a test drive to understand whether or not this is going to help you in your long-term goals. Wherever you're coming from, it's 50% off right now, which means that you get $250 worth of stuff for $50. Go to definingdadbod.com/shop to check out that meal planning tool and to decide if a Jumpstart Week would be powerful for you and your household. That's definingdadbod.com/shop. We appreciate your business as we continue to do the best we can to do right by everybody and to strengthen our community in the face of uncertainty right now. And I'm not going to lie, I'm looking forward to helping you dial in your nutrition and to kick your butt in a week full of workouts. I hope you'll take me up on it. Now, without further ado, let's get to this awesome conversation with Dr. Tro from the Low Carb MD Podcast. What's up, guys? This is Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod. I hope you're doing super well. I'm very excited about our esteemed guest I've got on the air. I don't know if he'd consider himself super esteemed, but he is a hero in my book. Dr. Tro, how are you doing today, brother?
Listen, I'm great. You could just call me Tro. No need for the doctor. I'm doing great. I'm very happy to be here. You know, it's funny. I think we're going to walk out of this corona mess with a lot of people trying to redefine their dad bods. So happy to be on the podcast.
Man, if we're doing our job right, the goal is that we have that nice foundation and that platform for people to turn to now that they can get a little more serious about things here. So I appreciate you being on. Now, I got to give you a brief introduction. Tro is a board certified medicine and obesity medicine physician who's the medical director of Dr. Tro's Medical Weight Loss and Direct Primary Care. Now, that is what your bio actually says, but dude, you have just a deep story about your own personal journey and how you came to be the Low Carb MD, and you and your co-host run a fantastic podcast that I can't wait to point people toward in the show notes and in our discussion here. But tell me about your superhero origin story, brother. You were in a place, you made some intense changes, and now you're helping people do the same, and I would love to hear about that.
Yeah, where do I start? You got 2 hours? Or...
Yeah, that's fair. How about?
Well, let me give you something. Let me give you something a little new that maybe some people may not know. Okay. I basically, I remember the first time I was overweight, and in fact, every time I have a patient who comes to me, I ask them, "When's the first time that you knew or felt overweight?" Okay, that's one, and we literally go through childhood to present. Okay, because there's a big correlation between childhood adversity and present comorbid disease. Okay, so anyway, the first time I knew I had an impending dad bod, I guess, the first time I knew I was overweight, I remember being in the third grade. And it finally hit me when we had a winter kind of a winter recital. And I was one of the reindeer and I had to run in place. And one day it was snowing outside, so we couldn't go out on the playground. So they decided, let's show this recital with a chubby kid running in place, right, on the big screen during lunch with all the, kids watching and the teachers and the aides and all that. And when I came up on the screen, I saw myself running, and I guess I was wearing a tight sweater, and, I had what we call gynecomastia, which is man boobs, fancy way of saying man boobs. And they were going up and down and all my fat was jiggling around. And of course the whole class laughed. And that didn't affect me so much. What really affected me, I remember that moment, must have been 8 or 9 years old. It was the aides laughing and the teacher laughing. And it wasn't like a big moment. I don't know. I don't even remember that moment until I started asking patients, hey, when do you first, remember? It's not like it stuck with me. I don't have some it wasn't like that, Citizen Kane teddy bear type thing, but I knew I was overweight. And I was overweight at 8 years younger, and it wasn't my parents' fault. My parents came to this country with nothing. They taught me how to think. They taught me to question authority. They taught me to work. They worked hard themselves. They built empires. But, my mom worked, my dad worked, and we grew up on Burger King and bread and mac and cheese and, convenience food. And we fed ourselves, and we went to the schools and ate the school lunches. So what would you expect to happen? Right? If you feed an animal crap, they're going to gain weight. They're going to get diabetes. They're going to get pre-diabetic. They're going to get morbid obesity. And that's what happened to me and my 2 brothers. So fast forward, hardworking, always driven, always questioning authority, always questioning the mindset. I said, you know what? I don't even need to eat. Now I'm 15 years old and I'm chunky and I'm like, I got to lose weight, And I did a 1 month fast, essentially, where I broke my fast with a vegan diet for about a year. And I lost an incredible amount of weight, but I couldn't sustain that. I just couldn't sustain that. And I tried to exercise. I did cross country. I did running. I tried to go to the gym. And over the next 5 years, 50 pounds came back on. And then college happened, med school happened. And it was 10 pounds a year for the next 10, 15, 20 years. Okay, until I went through med school, went through residency. I'm a physician now. Okay, I'm a doctor. I'm an attending physician at 350 pounds, advising people with diabetes to eat less and move more when I know it doesn't work because I've tried it. right? And I've done it. And I have other doctors asking me, why aren't you eating less and moving more? And of course, my answer to them would be, yeah, I wish I could do that. And I would be doing that if I could, but nobody really understood. So that's kind of the origin story, I guess, is I was a 350-pound doctor, married. I had my wife literally telling me, hey, maybe you shouldn't eat that way. Maybe you shouldn't have, that cereal. Maybe you shouldn't have she would literally be hiding boxes of ice cream. She'd be literally hiding boxes of cereal so I wouldn't eat them. She'd be hiding candy. So that's the origin story, man. It was a growing up metabolically unhealthy and not knowing my only attempt at regaining metabolic health and my short intermittent success was basically starving and exercising, but that just didn't work out long term.
Right.
So that's kind of where I found myself. And this was like 6 years ago. That's where I was.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And correct me if I'm wrong, your oldest is 7. So that means about the time that you started to make the intense changes required to get you where you are right now, you had just become a dad as well. Is that right?
Yeah. So I have 3 kids, 8 years old. One of them is 8 years old now, just recently turned 8. And my daughter is 6 and my other son is going to be 4 in a couple months. So yeah. I started having kids and then added to the stress. And of course, my wife, she has no appetite issue whatsoever. My wife's getting chocolates and candies from people who want to support her. And, here you are, new mom, here's eat up,
Right.
And meanwhile, I'm the one eating it. And then really with my second kid is really when my weight hits a peak. And this is about 6 years ago or 7 years ago. And really one of the biggest, most meaningful moments that I remember, was when I had a patient with alcoholism. And now I told you, my wife used to say, maybe you shouldn't eat that. And my wife, and she means well, she loves me and she cares for me and she's trying to support me. I've never met a person who was told by their mom or their wife or by their friend, hey, don't eat that or don't drink that. And they responded like, hell yeah, I shouldn't eat this. I'm a 350-pound doctor. Of course, you're right. I'm going to put that down. Of course, nobody responds that way, right? Everybody responds like, leave me alone. I'm just going to eat this. And in fact, if you've been obese your entire life, you know really how to quickly put those things deep down and not feel them. Like, just leave me alone. It agitates you or bothers you. It's sort of like an alcoholic. If you tell them maybe you shouldn't drink that much, you're just agitating them. Like, oh, I want to drink less. Yes. Mm-hmm. In fact, in my medical career, I've never met somebody, an alcoholic, a heroin user, anybody addicted, gambling or whatever, who's been told maybe you should cut down. And they said, hell yeah, of course, yes. I'm just going to walk away from the craps table. Thank you.
Got it.
Nobody does that. So anyway, my wife's always tried to support me. She loves me. She cares for me. Okay. She's asking me, will you be around for our 3rd kid? Will you be alive? And I really have to evaluate what's going on. And I have a patient, comes into my office who has alcoholism. And I'm like, you know what? Let me screen him for alcoholism. And we do that with something called a CAGE questionnaire. I know this is a long story, but just bear with me.
It's good. Have at it.
CAGE questionnaire. Okay. CAGE stands for C is cutting, A is agitated, G is guilty, and E is eye opener. Okay. And with regards to alcohol, it means, do you want to cut down alcohol? Do you get agitated when people tell you to cut down? Do you feel guilty after drinking? And do you find yourself drinking in response to stress or in the morning? Or do you need, alcohol at odd hour, kind of odd times, right? And do you respond to stress or respond to timing? Do you drink maybe in the morning? Eye opener, right? And so I have this patient and I want to make him aware of his alcoholism. I want to help him. I want to ask him the CAGE questionnaire and see, how many yeses he gets and maybe suggest to him, right, that, hey, there's a problem here. And I'm asking this patient, do you want to cut down alcohol? And I'm thinking about food, right? I'm thinking about food. Do I want to cut down food? Yes. I'm a 350-pound doctor. I want to cut out food. So the patient says, yes, he wants to cut down alcohol. I'm saying I want to cut down food. Then I ask him, agitated. Do you get agitated when your wife or your friends tell you maybe you shouldn't drink that much? He's like, yes, doc, that happens all the time. It pisses me off. And I'm like, oh, crap. I get agitated when somebody tells me not to eat the box of ice cream and cereal, right? Or the entire pizza or the chocolate, right? And then I'm like, okay, do you feel guilty? I'm asking him, do you feel guilty after you drink like I've never met an alcoholic who said, wow, I'm so proud of the amount of alcohol I drank, right? I've never met a heroin user who said, I'm so proud of my heroin using, right? In fact, it would be the opposite. If somebody was abstinent for a long time and they didn't have any alcohol and they celebrated with the loved one and they had a couple of drinks and had a great time and they relaxed, it's that person who may say with alcohol that they're not guilty, right? But most people, if they drink, they look back, they're not like, I'm so happy with myself. If you finish that box of pizza and your stomach's bloating and you have reflux, you're not happy with yourself. If you just ate, one ice cream bar after the other and you couldn't control yourself, you're never proud. So anyway, are you guilty? And my patient was alcoholic, who has alcoholism. He says, yeah, I do feel guilty. And I'm like, crap, I feel guilty. He's 3 for 3. I'm 3 for 3. And the last one is an eye opener. He's like, yeah, you know what? Sometimes it's like 3 o'clock. I just feel the stress and I have to drink. Okay. And then I'm like, ask myself, crap, it's like 10 o'clock. Nobody's looking. I'm eating. It's like 3 o'clock. I just got home. Nobody's there. I'm stuffing my face. So I'm like, oh, crap. And the first thing that hits me is like, no, this can't be true. I can't be addicted. There's no such thing as food addiction. Lane Norton, who's on your show, he would tell you he doesn't even believe that food addiction is a real thing. He would tell you it does not exist. All the nutritionists say you should eat in moderation. That's the only healthy way, right? So I'm like, I can't be food addicted. We're not even sure if it exists. I'm a board certified internist at the time. I scored 90th percentile. I can recite guidelines for you. So I'm like, how is this possible? I'm like, the matrix is finally revealing itself, right? And then I'm in denial. Right? I'm in denial. I'm like, you know what? I'm in denial at first, and then I'm going to negotiate. Right? I'm going to negotiate. I'm like, you know what? If my wife tells me from now on to eat less, I'm going to respond. I'm not going to be agitated because I can't be 4 for 4 on the cage. I'm going to be like ecstatic when my wife says to me, I'm going to, you know what? So I'm negotiating now. Anyway, really what's going on is the stages of really admitting my problem and coming to grips with it. And then it got me thinking, like, wait a second. I'm a doctor. I should know better. I'm highly educated. I work hard. I question authority. I'm critical thinking. Okay, so wait a sec. I should be able to figure this out. And I said to myself, well, what's the only thing that can abuse my logic against me? If I should respond to my wife and say, hell yeah, I should put that down, Rosette. You're right. I shouldn't be, eating all the candy, right? I shouldn't finish that plate of spaghetti, finish that, bowl of cereal, the box of cereal, sorry. The only thing that can abuse my emotions and make me respond in a way that I don't want to, right, is addiction. The only thing that can make me do something against my better judgment, and not only is it abusing my logic, right? Stop bothering me, leave me alone, right? That's what's going through my mind. That's the logic at that time. It's also abusing my emotions. It's taking somebody who loves, cares for me, and is expressing love, and it's making me feel agitated. So this process, whatever's going on in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, there's something going on where it's literally controlling the way I think and the way I feel. And the only thing I could come up with was it has to be addiction. Okay, it has to be addiction or dependence, right? It has to be dependence, right? Severe dependence. So that's the origin story. Once I put this up, and once my wife said, hey, are you going to be alive? And got me thinking, she lit the fire under my butt. My wife, right? Talking about, she was like, I'm sure she's happy that I've now defined the dad bod, but but she's asking me out of love and care, like, are you going to be alive? And then once I started to really think and these things kind of came together, I'm like, holy crap, something's wrong. That's the origin story. That's it right there. That's the long story. I don't know. I'm sorry I took up 10 minutes to tell that story, but.
No, I really appreciate it. It's so honest and so true too, because if you're listening to Tro and I right now, and you are wrestling with diabetes, you're wrestling with obesity, then it's very possible that you are on that journey right now where you're trying to understand why you can't make yourself do what you're trying to make yourself do. Not to make this a religious thing necessarily, but this is a verse from the New Testament. The Apostle Paul says, "Oh, wretched man that I am, the things that I want to do, I don't do, and the things that I do, I don't want to do." And that's the battle between the biological process of making whatever it is in your mind that drives addiction happy versus making the picture in your mind of how you see yourself and what kind of father you want to be and what kind of husband you want to be and what kind of doctor you want to be, making that a reality every day. And the reality is many people are wrestling with their food every day. It kind of sucks. You can live without alcohol, Like you can physically live without it. If you're an alcoholic, you can actually cut it out and live. And you can physically live without, heroin, nicotine, whatever. But food, you can't live without. And so it's a weird relationship to say, I need to eat or I don't exist. I need to eat for energy. I need to eat for my exercise. I need to eat to feed myself, right? But at the same time, I have this strange relationship with not being able to eat in a way that helps me manifest the best version of myself. And it sounds like you were there. Now, you found what much of the industry would call a really hokey and fatty way, which I don't necessarily agree, but a really hokey and fatty way, F-A-D-D-Y, not F-A-T-T-Y, way of improving yourself, of creating the nutritional regimen required to get rid of your food addiction, to get rid of the malregulation of blood sugar, and to improve yourself. How did you come to the low carb way of doing things in your world? And what kind of challenges have you faced in bringing that to your patients?
Yeah. So what happens next is very interesting. Okay. Because what happens there is now I am aware. I have a system of control that I wasn't aware of. I had no clue what's driving my hunger. I had no clue what's driving my appetite. I had no clue how to eat in a way to be full. So I have to go back and relearn everything. How the hell do I be full? Right. And it's easy for some people. They just know, hey, if I eat eggs, if I eat meat, if I eat fish, I eat chicken, right? If I eat Greek yogurt, I'm going to be full. If I eat green leafy vegetables, I'm going to be full. Right. But I didn't know a diet was a way to lose weight for me. I never thought of, how do you not eat ice cream? You be full so you don't eat ice cream, right? How do you not eat cereal? You be full. So it's if I take you and you have a pet at home? You got a pet at home?
We did. We just lost him, actually. Sports.
I'm sorry.
Everybody. Yeah.
What kind of what kind of animal was it? I'm really sorry. I don't mean to bring up a traumatic event.
Well, for me, it's not super traumatic. It was my wife's dog of like 13 years, little bitty Chihuahua dude.
Okay, so you have a Chihuahua. All right, you put food in front of that Chihuahua. You put food in front of a dog. What happens?
They eat it.
They eat it, of course, right? So the drive is to eat, right? The drive is going to be to eat. Now, if I take you right now, and what's your favorite food that's just a terrible, metabolically unhealthy food? What's your favorite food?
Oh, favorite terrible, metabolic, carrot cake for sure.
Carrot cake, great. One of my favorites, right? I've eaten whole entire cakes before.
Nice.
So if I take you in front of carrot cake, okay, and I make you hungry all day, you don't eat, you're on the metabolic wards, you're actually fighting disease all day long, you're on the hospital floors, give you stress, and I bring you home, and I put you in front of carrot cake. What do you think's going to happen?
It's going down, man. There's
eat it,
no carrot
right? Like any other dog.
Up to that, yes.
Does the dog ever look at its wrist?
Never.
Yeah. So does the dog look at its wrist and say, "It's my fasting window right now. You give me like 2 hours"? Does that happen?
Never.
No.
Never.
So the impulse is going to be to eat. Okay. So, now you have to work on, how do I minimize that impulse? How do I minimize the impact of that impulse? And this is the origin story here. How do I get a handle of appetite? And it's really easy. You could do it a number of ways. Okay. If I take somebody in front of cupcake and make them eat a pound of steak, how much carrot cake, do you think they're going to eat?
Not much. Give me a whole steak. I'm not going to eat it.
None. If I take somebody in front of carrot cake and say, you can eat carrot cake, you just got to drink 3 bottles of seltzer before you go eat it. How much carrot cake do you think they're going to eat?
Not much. Stomach's already full.
Yeah. So what we're doing here is we're using the physiologic effect of protein and fat, in the case of a steak, to tell your brain you're not hungry. Mm-hmm. And in the case of the seltzer, we're using a physiologic effect, right? Filling your stomach up, right? And bloating it to tell your brain you're not hungry. That filling up effect is just one effect, but that's how a vegan diet worked, right? That's how a vegan diet worked for me. It filled up my stomach in the past, and it made, when I was a teenager, and it made me full with a low amount of energy. But the problem is it wasn't sustainable for me, right? It wasn't sustainable for me. So I knew, okay, I could leverage some of these things from me being vegan when I was 15. Yeah, I couldn't leverage volume, but there's got to be something more. I can't do the same thing and expect a different result. So I was like, okay, let me eat meat, fish, chicken, eggs, okay, and green leafy vegetables, right? And try to actually make myself not hungry. And lo and behold, there's a number of ways that makes you not hungry, not even besides these two things that I mentioned, the bloat, right? The stretch effect on the stomach, and the neuropeptide YY and the CCK that are neurohormones that make your brain not hungry. If your blood sugar is stable, you ever wonder after that carrot cake, why 3 hours later you're going back to more carrot cake? Or why after, a slice of pizza or 2 slices of pizza, 3 hours later, that cold pizza tastes better? Did you ever wonder that?
Oh, I always tell my people it's easy to go through an entire bag of Doritos. It's very hard to eat an entire pound of ribeye.
Yeah, well, so if you get, why is it 3 hours after eating that pizza, you're back for more? Why is it after Chinese food? You eat a bunch of Chinese food, you try not to eat the egg roll, you ate a little bit of the lo mein, and then 3 hours later, you're eating cold Chinese food and it tastes better. Why does the cold pizza taste better 3 hours later? Why does the pie that comes out after, a Thanksgiving dinner where everybody's bloated and they can't even think about eating anymore, and then they start picking leftovers 2 or 3 hours in, and the pie comes out and everybody's eating like they haven't eaten. They were just asleep.
So true.
They were just asleep. What happens 3 hours later, right? And that's glycemia. When the blood sugar falls, okay, from going that high up, the brain is hungry for more. When it's tanking back down and you get that reactive hypoglycemia 2 to 3 hours later, right, or relative hypoglycemia, the brain is on fire for food. So what does a low carbohydrate do? It stabilizes that blood sugar. So you don't get the hunger from the repeated glycemic roller coaster you're on if you're eating carb and fat combinations like pizza and cheeseburgers and ice cream and, cereal with milk and stuff like that, right? And the last thing is when you go low carb, these ketones, they prevent seizures, they prevent migraines, they actually are a neuroinhibitory hormone, okay? They literally go to the brain and say you're not hungry. So yeah, I found myself learning about appetite and what modulates appetite and what makes animals hungry, what makes them full, right? And there's more to it than that. There's stress, there's sleep, and all of these things, stress and sleep, can affect your blood sugar, can exaggerate the glycemic excursions, right? The blood sugar going up and down, right? If you're sleep deprived, we've known for a long time that it increases your sweet cravings and weight gain. And now we know how it makes that blood sugar gyrate, right? You get insulin resistant and it makes your blood sugar gyrate. It makes your brain more hungry, right? And when your brain sees low blood sugar, you ever met a diabetic, by the way?
Yeah, I work with several of them.
You ever met a diabetic that inject insulin? Yeah. What do they tell you when their blood sugar is low? They feel weak, they feel clammy, and then they say, I'm hungry, and they say, did anybody ever say, get me orange juice, chocolate, ice cream, right? Did they soda? Did they say that?
Yeah.
Has any one of them ever said, please get me the plain tuna or the steamed chicken and steamed broccoli? Did anybody ever say that?
Never ever. You don't want real food. You want a honey bun or whatever.
Right? Exactly. When that blood sugar is low, the brain is on fire for awesomeness, right? Okay, and I'm just dumbing it down here, but it's the brain is on fire for food, and it's not the cerebral part of your brain that says, your wife's trying to help you. It's the part of your brain that is the addiction part, the reward part, right? So those blood sugars stabilizing, it kind of alleviates some of that, right? It alleviates some of that, but there are other things that do it. If you're sleep deprived or you eat late, your blood sugar can be accentuated the next day without anything else changed, right? Just from your natural stress hormones. So the thing is it's a deep, dark place learning about appetite and satiety, because you see that it's just not low carb. There's so much involved.
Super deep.
Right? There's so much involved. So people say I'm low carb. I'm like, yeah, I'm low carb. I'm also low fat. I'm also high sleep. I'm also, low meal frequency. I'm also low, I'm low fat, like the low, rancid, trans fats and seed oils that make you insulin resistant. Yeah, I'm low fat. I believe in lowering those fats because they make you more hungry. Here's the most, I know I'm talking so long here. The aha moment was the food companies know all this stuff. They know all of it. They have marketers, they have engineers. The Dorito companies is making a random amount of salt and flavor on each different chip to get you excited about each different amount. They're all using soybean oil, Nabisco, McDonald's, Wendy's. They all use the cheapest, most hyperinsulinemic, basically fat source, because they know what's going to make you a recurring customer. So that's the part, that's the matrix moment. It's like, holy crap, I'm in the matrix. I'm addicted to food. I'm in the matrix.
So you said so many good things there that I want to point our listeners to and just kind of make sure that they really key in on that, because one of the things that you're talking about is what many of the, you can call it the calories in, calories out community, the CECO community, one of the things that they really have a hard time with is they draw a box around people as if they're a chemical reactor, and they try to talk about the energy inflow versus the energy outflow. The problem with that is when you're trying to, count your calories and moderate your food and eat less and exercise more, the problem is there's a brain on top of that whole reactor. And one of the things you're talking about is the reality that many of the things that we do and many of the things that we consciously strive to do every day are in very short supply compared to the regular instinctual biological reactions that happen under the surface. And so even the most well-intending person can only create so much bandwidth and willpower to fight being hungry all of the time, or to fight poor sleep habits, or to fight, I don't know, like you said, you've got millions of dollars of research by Nabisco to find out exactly how much seasoning on that Dorito needs to be there so that you keep reaching into the bag to grab more, which, by the way, that study was just fascinating to me. I was like, oh my gosh, they're doing that on purpose. Like, that's totally worked on me before, right? But anyway, that being said, you're talking about the fact that we cannot bypass the biology and psychology of every individual human being with regard to their appetite cues. And there's probably more things than we could count, microbiome, genetic predispositions, and whatnot that play into that here. But I had, as you know, I had Layne Norton on the show not too long ago, actually. It was just a few months ago, because I asserted, as I like to in the social media spheres, I asserted that calories were probably the last thing I cared about as a coach to help people with regard to improving their lifestyle around nutrition and exercise. And as you can imagine, I got a lot of backlash and whatnot. And so I brought him on the show to talk through, his line of thinking and whatnot. But one of the things that I like about you, Tro, and one of the reasons I asked to bring you on here, you and your partner who started the Low Carb MD podcast, I kind of consider a new growing group of people that I would call I don't know if you've heard of the intellectual dark web, but it's like the health and fitness dark web, the group of people who are crowdfunded, who aren't bought by large companies who are trying to push a product and stuff, and who are actually trying to have conversations that are being shouted down by larger money interests. So I wanted to bring that up as you were talking there. When you and your partner set out to create the Low Carb MD podcast, I was listening to one of the interviews you did recently, and you were talking about, somebody was like, are you selling ketones? Like, is that what this is about? You want to come on my show and talk about your new ketone supplement? And you're like, no. No, not at all. Like, we're not funded by anybody except, our Patreon listeners. So can you tell me about why you guys decided to do that, and what kind of battles, so to speak, have you had to fight? Because I know people like Tim Noakes and Dr. Jason Fung, they've had to fight their own battles by the matrix, so to speak, the larger established way of thinking about things. And I know you guys are under fire as well. So why did you guys decide to go about that route, and what have you found in that journey?
Okay, so first things first, the sad truth is we all have families. We're fathers here. This is a Defining Dad podcast. So we are, Brian is a father of 2. I'm a father of 3, right? So at the end of the day, I have to support myself and my family. But, I'm not, and Layne Norton, who you had on, I think he's a father too.
He is.
Okay, so he has to support his family and so on. But as the physician, we're held to a higher standard. Okay. And a lot of times people have been critical of Jason Fung, for example, because he's, supported, I don't think he makes any money off this, but he's supported a tea company. A lot of times we recommend water, tea, coffee, seltzer to people who are fasting. Mm-hmm. And so he supported a tea company, and that tea company made, some claims about reducing the risk of heart disease. And it looked bad. But at the base level, I know Jason, I know he's an awesome guy, very, great set of morals. It looks like he's doing a commercial for a tea company. Well, no, that's not the case. That's not the case at all. And so Layne Norton, he sold a supplement line, or sells a supplement line. Okay. And do I believe that, beta alanine has potential positive effects on sports performance? Yes. Do I believe that caffeine does? Yes. Okay. Is he selling a supplement to make money? Yes. Okay. Is it somewhat nefarious? Probably. Okay. Is it understandable as a father and somebody who's got to support his family? Yeah, I get it. Is he selling like crack cocaine? No, not really. Right. So, but the problem is this: is the types of Layne Norton say, "Oh, you're selling a supplement." He like mocks Jason Fung and he hasn't made a cent off of the tea, right? But for being on their, like allowing his face to be used on their promotion, and yet, he's literally taken gifts from Monster, disclosed it nowhere. He wrote an article about high fructose corn syrup being completely safe, and he's taking gifts from the biggest peddler of high fructose corn syrup. I'd consider that a major conflict. He didn't disclose it. I consider that even more of a conflict. Okay. He then was presented evidence showing that if you reduce fructose, just fructose in obese children, calorie controlled, that their fatty liver improves. Okay. He didn't change his article. He was presented with evidence that lowering carbs, irrespective of calories and weight loss, will improve metabolism. He doesn't change his article that gets a lot of hits that, hey, high fructose corn syrup is completely fine. And if you look at who he trained with basically Coca-Cola's henchmen. Okay, so the problem is that in medicine and us as physicians is we're held to higher standards. So the very smart thing that Jason Fung told us and Brian Lenskis, and what we thought about was we have to stay as impartial as possible. If we're going to tell people to eat meat, fish, chicken, eggs, Greek yogurt, we can't take money from them. Okay, we can't take money from them. And so, being commercial free is very important to us, and having our integrity. It's not that I don't like supplements. We have Keto Chow. I sell Keto Chow in my front office. I don't make any money selling Keto Chow. They're a supplement, right? They're an electrolyte drop. A lot of my patients use it, right? I tell my patients you could just add salt and have a little avocado and it may do much of the same thing, and drink plenty of water. Okay. I don't have anything. Supplements have their own issue, right? We don't know the quality of Layne Norton's supplement, right? We don't know what else it's contaminated with. We don't even know proteins that we sell, if they're contaminated or not. So, and vitamins, Labdoor has done studies on vitamins and they don't even have close to what they claim they have of certain nutrients. So yeah, the supplement industry has its problems. I don't have anything against it. Good for Layne Norton to sell his supplement. I know he's not trying to sell a drug, but when I say sell a drug, I meant sell an addictive illicit drug, right? But I think as physicians, we're held to higher standards. In my office, nobody, not even one solicitor, is allowed in here. I take that back. Out of the hundreds that have tried, we have allowed one solicitor to come in, and it's the Abbott pharmaceutical rep who sells continuous glucose monitors, who's, has to promote. That is the only rep allowed in our office, because I have to hold myself to a higher standard. It's great to get lunches and free stuff from a whole bunch of other people. That's awesome. But, same thing with the podcast. I'd love to sell Butcher Box and, commercials and, do that. But it's just, I think we have to hold ourselves to higher standards. And that's something that Jason Fung said and Brian agreed with. And so we've done that. And we do that in our practice. My practice here, nobody's allowed to solicit our office because we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. Unfortunately, Layne Norton doesn't have to do that. He can sell an app, he can sell supplements, he can take gifts from Monster and he has no obligation to disclose them. So, and which he didn't, not to say his content is, I understand why he may believe sugar is not evil, quote unquote, but when you're presented evidence otherwise, and when you're taking money from Big Sugar, it's hard to really say that you're fair, which he claims he does.
Well said. And you bring up, I appreciate having this conversation with you, because one of the things that I talk about on my show pretty regularly is it's very important where the funding from your health and fitness program is coming from. And it was recently the head of the American Dietetics Association went on record saying they should reevaluate where they're being funded from. My wife's a dietitian, and that's one of the things we talk about is you go to the convention and, there's McDonald's. And you're like, no, that doesn't make any sense to the thinking person. But when you consider that there's a very large business model behind what many people understand about their nutrition and the marketing in your grocery store and all that stuff, the reason I bring this up and the reason I think it's relevant to this conversation, when I asked you to come on the show, Tro, we weren't in the middle of a pandemic at the time. But here we are, we're wrestling with coronavirus, COVID-19. It's something that the Western world or really the globe's never dealt with in modern history, is something this extensive with shutting down and social distancing and stuff. But unlike other things that we've faced in the past, like Ebola, smallpox, this particular pandemic seems to be targeting people that you have a deep specialty in working with, which is obesity, diabetes, metabolic disease. You can put that under the umbrella of metabolic diseases. And something I'm really interested in, and I know you're interested in, is where do we go from here in a positive and powerful way to help people achieve a level of fitness to where they're not in the high risk category, so to speak. And one of the things that I believe is going to be important there is kind of opening the eyes of people to the matrix, as you called it, which is there's a lot of money that would really love for you to stay on your diabetes medications and to continue counting calories in your app and also continue buying their ice cream. And so that being said, what are your thoughts about, if you have any thoughts about this specifically, do you believe that what we're going through right now is going to make an impact on how we move forward in the future? Do you believe it's going to change how some people think about these pre-existing conditions? And if so, what, if anything, is going to change about what you're doing?
Yeah, there's a lot there. Let me start off by saying I am so jealous of the infectious disease experts in this world. They were able to scare people to, and rightfully so, to make change right away. Right. Everyone went about their daily lives to sitting at home, binge watching Disney Plus. Okay. So they were able to make change in an instant. People are making masks. People are wearing masks. People will do as they're told. And look at this as week 6, people are isolating even more now. So I am jealous, okay, from these infectious disease experts because they were able to motivate and implement change in an instant. And here we are as obesity doctors telling people to eat less and move more, like Lane Norton, just count your macros, inspiring nobody, causing repeat failure, okay, causing people to be disenfranchised and not invested in their health, okay. I've never met an animal that was completely sated that ate a cupcake. I've never met an animal. I've never seen a patient, okay, who's been given a pound of steak and then had 10 slices of pizza. I've met an animal that ate 10 slices of pizza, not one that did it after 4 hamburger patties at McDonald's. So we work to help people understand their appetite so they can see that matrix. Okay, there's McDonald's. That's great. Every time you pass it, you're going to be hungry. Fine. Go get 5 hamburger patties. You want cheese? Put cheese on it. You want pickles? Get pickles. Fine. You see Wendy's? Go get 4 grilled chicken patties. Cost $5 for you to get 4 grilled chicken patties. Cost $5 for you to get a pound of meat. Go to your supermarket. Get 2 rotisserie chickens. Eat one now, save one for later. Okay? The reality is this, is if you eat 1,200 calories of pizza, you're going to be hungry 3 hours later eating more pizza. If you eat 1,200 calories of eggs, which is like 16 eggs, you're not going to eat for a day.
No
if
joke.
you eat 1,200 calories of top sirloin, you're not going to eat for a day. So the issue here is we expose our patients to the matrix, okay, so that they can understand how to navigate it, right? You're never going to get rid of McDonald's. So how do you work within that system? How do you make it work for you? You're never going to get rid of the supermarket. How do you shop when you're there so that you shop to be full? So you do not have to fight your hunger, okay? If you need a cupcake, fine, we'll get you a freaking cup. So this disclosure, my wife, she supported me and she got me off of Chips Ahoy with low carb cookies and cakes. And she said, you know what? You're not the only person I can help. I can help other people. And she makes a line of low carb cookies and cake, okay? And I tell all my patients, it is not a weight loss food. Eating butter, sweetener, and nuts is not a weight loss food. It's an appetite suppression food. Okay, you eat that way so that you're not hungry 3 hours later. If you're fighting off 2 Chips Ahoys, okay, and you eat only 2 Chips Ahoys, you're actually losing more weight than eating a bag of keto cookies, right? But you win 3 hours later when you're not hungry again. Okay, when you have a cookie without carbohydrates, it doesn't mean that you're going to lose weight. So anyway, just to come back to this, you have to, if you need a cookie, make it work for you, right? So you're not hungry later. And now how does this relate to COVID, right? I'm jealous at the way that they've been able to inspire people to change their habits. And what we do here is we try to inspire people and we make it happen. We meet with them weekly. We watch their CGMs, we watch their scales, we watch their blood pressure cuffs so that they can make this change happen. We talk to them in real time. Hey, we noticed your blood sugar shot up. What happened? Right? Or, maybe they're beating themselves up. They ate 3 keto cookies instead of the Chips Ahoy. And they're like, I can't believe I ate 3 cookies. No, that's a win, right? Yeah, it's not a win to break the glass in case of emergency when you're just goofing around. It's a win when there's a freaking fire and you break the glass in case of emergency. That's the keto cookie. That's the Blaze Pizza. I have no relationship with Blaze Pizza, by the way, or Keto Chow, no financial relationship. Or Quest protein chips, right? I have no relationship to them. Are these healthy foods? No. They're just healthier replacements. They're a way to get you out of the matrix. You're stuck on Doritos and pizza. Well, here you go. Here's your pizza. Here's your Doritos. Go to eat as much as you want. Okay. And let your appetite suppress over time. So I'm jealous. This coronavirus thing has made me jealous of my infectious disease counterparts because it's made it so clear to me that patients want to do everything they can and will do everything they can if they believe it's going to work. Okay. So we have to give our patients the hope and the tools to make it work. And that's what we do here. We try to make weight loss easy. Now, the second thing is people think it's so far away. Like I can put a mask on right now and I'm going to be protected, right? And they think like, oh, it'll take me a long time to lose weight. That's not true. You can eliminate fatty liver in 3 days. You can come off insulin in 2 days. We do it all the time in our practice. Okay. We do it all the time. You can get metabolically healthy within 2 weeks eating a low carbohydrate diet versus a high carb diet. You can reverse metabolic syndrome. Okay. Yes, it'll take a long time to lose 100 pounds. It took me over 2.5 years. Okay. It took me 2.5 years to lose 150 pounds, but you can get metabolically healthy right away. And you stay metabolically healthy over time, you will lose weight. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take you years. That's fine. Start now, start now. If you have a mask now, put it on now. When you get your glove shipment in, then put on your gloves. When you get your Lysol wipes, then use your Lysol wipes. When you get your Purell, then use your Purell, right? But you know what? You could put your mask on now. Eat a steak until you're full so you don't eat ice cream. And then if you really need ice cream, replace it with low carb ice cream. Sorry, I talk a lot. I know, man. I know. I'm sorry.
Dude, I love it. My people hear me all the time, so I'm glad they're hearing it from you as well. You said some good stuff there. The one thing I really want to highlight and talk about just a bit is that when it comes to coronavirus, COVID-19 specifically, that it seems so looming. It seems so imminent. People see it as like this unseen thing that might kill them in the relatively near future or take down their grandma. And that's true. I'm not discounting that at all. It's definitely scary. However, the complications arising from obesity and metabolic disease kill way more people than this thing ever will. And it has been killing people for a long time. It will continue to kill people for a long time. And just because I don't know if it's common household knowledge or maybe people don't understand the numbers. I'm not really sure what it is. Maybe it's just not that scary because maybe it's not tomorrow in an ICU bed. But I hope that kind of like, I don't know, I've been doing fitness for 14 years. People do these crash diets and they're like, wow, that didn't work for me. And then they have their eyes opened to needing the support to make some change, some real change that's long lasting. And so they'll come work with a well-qualified coach to get there. I'm hoping that having our eyes publicly opened to the fact that everybody really does care about their own health. Everybody really does care about their own health of their families and their communities. And that they will go through some extreme measures. Like you said, freaking 6 weeks of binging Disney Plus and sitting at home and trying not to high five people. If you can do that, if we can be there together, then perhaps following this thing, we can be a little more serious about nutrition. We can be a little more serious about exercise. We could be serious about taking up a fasting discipline. That's my hope. It sounds like you share that hope, and I appreciate you fighting the good fight on your end. I know we're coming up on time here, brother. I want to make sure that everybody hears from you, the last word that you have, what you want to leave them with, and then also how can they get connected with you through the Low Carb MD podcast. And I know you also have an online presence in your practice as well.
The reality is if somebody gets a flat tire, right, they call AAA. If somebody starts binge eating or drinking alcohol again, nobody calls their doctor or their health coach, but they should, right? They should. right? If somebody's like losing money out of their bank account and it's just disappearing, they're going to call the bank right away, right? Nobody gets out of there and like starts losing money, then withdraws $1,000 and lights their bank savings on fire, right? Nobody like keeps driving with their car with a flat tire, messes up their axle, messes up their engine. Nobody does that, right? But when it comes to dieting, it's like, oh, you know what? I had like half a slice of bread. I'm just going to eat 3 slices of pizza now, then ice cream after that, then the whole weekend shot. And then they're going to start on Monday. And then they're going to start next month, right? So nobody does that with anything else but their own health, right? And the crap food that they eat, because they don't want to they don't understand what's driving their appetite and how to deal with it. It's their fault they can't moderate the pizza, okay? So they are happy to do the mask because they know, they see the impact, right? But with their appetite, they don't understand it. It's like nebulous. They're like, I don't know, I just can't stop eating. So the problem is that we have done a crap job of being a support. Doctors have been terrible. Dietitians have been terrible. You know, the Lane Nortons have made it worse, okay? And meanwhile, we need to get people reinvested in their care, because not only for, you know, you were absolutely right. The statistics for obesity, diabetes, and heart disease and hypertension, the mortality is like 50,000 per month. And here we have like 3,000 per month or 4,000 per month from COVID. And not only that, but even for COVID, man, if you get your diabetes in control and your blood pressure in control, you're reducing risk factors for COVID. So you know what? There's if you are serious about flattening the curve and reducing the load on our hospitals, you'll get your life in order. And the way to do that is understand your appetite. What makes you hungry? How do you be full? What's the best way to be full, right? How do you stay full longer? And then when you're not hungry, do you have the, knowledge and the input not to eat, right? I mean, that's as simple as that. Eat meat, fish, chicken, eggs, Greek yogurt until you're full. If you want green leafy vegetables, low carb fruit, go ahead, eat it. If you need replacements for the stuff you cannot restrict, the pizza, the cookies, the crackers, the bread, right? Just make it in a way that doesn't make you more hungry, right? So let's treat it like a business. Don't keep losing money. You're not going to lose money and then, keep burning the rest of your money until next week or next month or next year for New Year's resolutions. You're not going to just stop looking at your bank account until January, right? So why can we not, we can get people invested. They want to be invested. They just need the way and the hope. And it sounds like you're doing that. We've been doing that for a long time. Here in our office in New York, in Japan, New York, this is what we do. We keep people healthy. We use remote monitoring scales. We use remote monitored blood pressure cuffs, remote monitored body composition, remote monitored CGMs. And we help people just stay on track, right? And we reach out to them. We support them. And so, it's drtro.com or Dr. Tro on social media. And the podcast is Low Carb MD.
Man, brother, I appreciate you. I'm going to make sure everybody's pointed in that direction. And thank you so much for your time. This has been an awesome conversation. I hope you and yours stay safe and that your clinic continues to do well, because you're fighting a good fight. Keep it up.
Yeah, thank you.
Until next time, kick butt and take names. 1, 2, 3, 4. The free practical advice and conversations here remain unbought and unbiased, thanks to the support of listeners just like you. If this episode's been helpful to you, please share it with somebody in your life who you know it will benefit. Then subscribe to the podcast and leave us a raving review to tell others what value Defining Dad Bod has brought to your health and fitness journey. And finally, if you want more Defining Dad Bod, consider joining our online community. We send a lot of free perks and resources your way, and I, Coach Alex, go live every month to talk through our listeners' health and fitness questions to make the practical science of this show applicable to everyday life. Everyone's welcome, and we'd love to have you. For more information about joining the Inner Circle or becoming a supporter of the Defining Dad Bod podcast, go to definingdadbod.com/inner circle. That's definingdadbod.com/inner circle.